Hi, this is Bonnie Copeland from StepIntoBrilliance.com, your certified leadership and mindset coach. And I am putting together this video today about goals, and I want to talk to you about goals that actually work. The reason why I'm doing this video is I have a lot of clients who come and are really lost on what to do with all these desires and goals they have floating around in their head. So this video is going to be actually a quick overview of a better goal system that will actually work for you while you work on your goals. So you might even be wondering why you should care that much about setting goals. I'm sure you've done it in the past and it hasn't really got you where you wanted to be, or maybe you've gotten a little ways and things got off track and goals don't seem to really work. Well, you see, the kicker is if you don't know where you're going, you can end up just about anywhere and most likely not where you'd prefer to be. Getting clear also helps you get where and what you want faster. No long scenic route, And as Jim Rohn, one of my favorite teachers, says, if you don't design your own life plan, chances are you'll fall into someone else's plan. And guess what they have planned for you? Not much. Listen, I want more than that for you. Heck, I want more than that for me. So let's figure out what it is we actually want and how to get it. So first, we need to actually figure out what it is that we want. So I'm going to ask you to actually set up two different lists. And they are one for short-term goals, and those are the things that we feel we want to have or can complete, that is from now up to about a year from now. And the other are our long-term goals, which are things that we want to complete from 1 to 10 years from now. And within that, each of those lists will have pretty much the same categories. And it always sort of surprises people when I start asking them about their goals, and I'll start asking them about specific categories of goals. And here are just a few: family and friends, goals for your career and business, which are usually the ones that I end up hearing about, health goals, skills, and we're talking about things that you might want to pick up, possibly for your business, possibly for your health, possibly just for random fun. Personal development, spiritual development, finances, fun. Yes, you can have goals for fun. And I also try to include a random section so I'm not sitting there stressing about, where something goes if it's not exactly clear to me right at the time. The reason why it's important to have that is because we're going to actually do some brainstorming. And while you can get totally creative with these lists and how you're going to write them out and where you're going to put them and all of these things, it's really important to make the list. Do not skip this part. I know a lot of my clients and friends will go, oh, I know what it is that I want. But I'm telling you right now, writing out your goals is going to bring such clarity and focus. And it also sends a message out to the universe that you are ready to start getting busy and getting these things happening. So here's how you're going to start. Yep, this is a step by step, my friends. You're going to decide how it is you are personally going to organize your lists. You can use a notebook, you can use a journal, you can use loose leaf paper, you can use the back of envelopes, although I wouldn't necessarily recommend that one. You can also use a computer, but I'm going to caution you that I honestly believe it's better to write these things out by hand because it creates a stronger connection and awareness in our subconscious. That said, if that's what works for you, a computer-generated list is still better than no list at all. Personally, I use loose leaf paper, and what I do is I actually fold them in half and draw a border down the middle and create two separate categories for each page because I'm all about saving the paper. So that's what I do. What works for you may be different. Try out different things, get creative. It's got to work. The next thing you're going to do is literally schedule some time, 20 to 30 minutes, to sit and just brainstorm everything. It's a complete brain dump Don't judge it. Don't get worried about how you're going to do all this stuff. We're going to get to that. This is just getting it all out on paper. And then this is what I do. I know some people, it doesn't really work for them or they need even a longer time, but I schedule it. That's the key to all of this. I also schedule myself a day to mull over and add to the list before going on to the next step. Not everyone needs to do that. Um, I do it because I know as I do other things throughout the day, my mind goes, oh yeah, what about this? And oh yeah, what about that? And I add to it. Now, that said, you can add to this list from now till forever. It's not set in concrete. These are not the only goals that you can ever do from now till whenever. We're going to be talking about working with these lists in a minute. The next thing that people kind of laugh at, but it's actually really important. Decide on a good place to keep your list. You need to see it quite often to keep it top of mind, especially when you first get started. But you also need to make sure you're not going to misplace your list. I personally keep mine folded in half in the front of my journal. I know people who keep theirs on their fridge or underneath their computer keyboard. There's all different ways, but you do need to see it often, especially in the beginning. And you need to keep it someplace you're not going to lose it, which has happened. Enough said. All right, so now the next part. We've got this list. We're going to bring it out into action. It's really important that you don't let yourself get overwhelmed or start editing out your list just yet. Your list is your desires. There's no point in trying to hide them. Get them out, get them on paper, but the next steps are what's going to keep you from getting overwhelmed. So we're going to look at our long-term goals. We're going to go through them. And we're going to mark them up. We're going to decide which ones we need to be achieved in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, and 10 years. So, for example, you might say in 5 years, I want to have a house. That's a 5-year plan. In 2 years, I want to have a book written and published. Boom, that's your 2-year plan. So these are the things. And again, don't get hung up on them. They're not written in stone. If you happen to get your house in 3 years, no one is going to fault you. And then you're going to do that with your short-term goals, only you're going to mark them things you want completed in 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, and a year. And if you notice, those are quarters of the year. Now, grab your short-term list, read them over, and pick out 2 or 3 that are really important to you, ones that have a great deal of meaning. These are the ones that we're going to really focus on. And we're going to do the same thing with our long-term goals, but we're only going to pick 1 or 2. And really pick ones that have a lot of meaning or you feel are quite important to your happiness. And this is the fun part. I like to do this in my actual journal. You may want to do this in a separate notebook or just on other paper and keep it with your list, whatever works for you, but just get it done. Okay, so we're going to get busy dreaming. For each one of those goals that we picked that are going to be sort of our focus goals is what we call them, we're going to create a detailed vision of it as if it were complete. So we're going to use now language, but it's going to be something that's happening in the future. So for example, the case of writing your book. We're not going to talk about when we get it written, when we get it published. We're going to act as if it's already written, it's already published, and what that's going to be like. I'm going to be going to my book signings. It's going to be amazing. I can't believe I have this book in my hand with its beautiful cover and describe it, describe the feelings that go with it. Emotions are incredibly powerful motivators. Write them down. Read it often, as much detail and as expressively as you can imagine it. Once those are done, we have a pretty concrete vision of where we want to go. And now we can start creating the steps to get there. One word of caution, don't let yourself get hung up on the fact you may not know all of the steps yet. You may not know exactly how to get your book on Amazon or published by a publishing house, but you do know what needs to happen first. You need to sit down and do some writing. So you may start your plan with just a few steps. create an outline, schedule time in your day to actually do the writing, those sorts of things. And you can get those done. And once you start the steps, the smaller steps, the first steps, the other ones start unfolding. It's magic. It always seems to happen. So remember, it's about what you can do right now. Part of keeping motivated is knowing your why. Why do you want to write that book? Why do you want to get healthy? Why do you want a house? Because when you know why you want it and what you want it bad enough, you will find a way to make it happen. This is part of those steps unfolding and opening up and finding their way to you. The why is your motivation. Write down your whys. Write down the visions. This is where the energy comes from. And it will happen. We'll get tired. We might get sick. We might get distracted by other pretty shiny objects. We might slow down and lose a little bit of that motivation. It happens. It's going to happen. The why, the reading of the vision, this will remind us of who we are, what we want, why we want it, and get that motivation back and bring us back to purpose, which will keep us going. Now the check-ins. This is the part I think that seems to be the toughest because we're quite motivated, quite purposeful when we do these first steps, the uncovering of the why, the vision writing, the brain dumping of all the things that we would desire in our lives. And after a week, we might check in with our goal lists. After a month, maybe. 3 months down the road, and I find this is where we start to falter. Schedule it. Put it in your day planner. Put it in your calendar reminders. Because there are 3 words for goal achievement and success: motivation, inspiration, and celebration. Checking in and reviewing our goals keeps all 3 of these in play. Our focus and sense of purpose is refreshed every time we read our visions, or we check off a goal as completed, or we celebrate a success and an achievement. Every time we do those things, our motivation is refreshed, right? It's like having a bath or a shower every day. You need to keep doing it so that we keep it up. How often should you do a check-in? You need to do it at least weekly. This is just a check-in to make sure we're on task, that we're doing those things that we need to do and we know what the next step is. And then we also need a monthly check-in to go over our focus and check in on our plan and make sure it's going where we want it to be. And do we need a new goal? Once we've achieved something, we need to get a new goal onto play. Quarterly check-ins. This is a time for some serious reflection. Do these goals still make sense to you? Are they still leading you where you want to go? Should you add some things, adjust some things, maybe cut some things? And a yearly review. Now, I like to do this on New Year's Day. It just seems to make perfect sense. Some people do it on their birthday, just an easy reminder. A yearly review is more of a check-in on yourself. I usually write completely new lists and revise them with a brand new, beautiful paper. You might just want to sit and read them and see what still feels like truth to you. But a yearly review is really important on a bigger scale, an overview of, is this the kind of life that you still want to be achieving? So how do these goals really work for us? Because I know, and I know there are people listening to this right now that says, that's all very well and good, Bonnie, but I've set goals. I know my why, and I've drifted off and it didn't happen. Well, here's the key ingredient. And I'm telling you, you can go ahead and study your SMART goals. You can make the most detailed plan. You can put it in your day timers, and you can still end up next quarter with nothing to show for it. Why? Well, there is one magical ingredient that most people do not like to hear about, and it's not a special talent. There's no special skills that go along with it, and unfortunately, there's no magical genie, because if there were, we wouldn't need goals. It's quite simply discipline. Jim Rohns has a great quote for this. We all must suffer one of two things, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret or disappointment. Essentially, what that's meaning is that we either discipline ourselves to get these things done or we regret doing what needs to be done even when we don't feel like it. That's discipline. And that gets us where we want to go and creates a life that we are happy with. Regret, disappointment, not so much in the way of creating the kind of life we want to be living, usually. Discipline is the bridge. On one side of the river or the ocean or whatever body of water you enjoy talking about, on one side is our goals. On the other is the success that we want, is that life that we want. Discipline is the bridge that gets us across the water, that connects the goal and the success. Without discipline, you're going to falter. There's just no way around it. And sometimes it sucks. Sometimes you really just do not feel like it. And that's when you need it the most. It's called accountability, self-control, self-discipline. And sometimes you need a little bit of a hand, and that's where a coach can come in really handy or a good friend to help you keep that accountability. The other key, of course, is your mindset. You had to know this was coming. Listen, what you believe about yourself, your goals, and about discipline all matter. When we talk about discipline, I'm guessing a lot of you who are listening to this kind of went, oh, God, here we go, right? Switch that around. Discipline is the key. Discipline is the blessing. Discipline is what gets you there, and you already have it. You just need to use it. Those beliefs that you create about lifestyle, that's what really essentially this is all about. If you want a different life, you've got to change your mindset. You've got to work on your beliefs. You need to grow. Thomas Jefferson has a great quote: nothing can stop the man with the right mental attitude from achieving his goal, and nothing on earth can help the man with the wrong mental attitude. Set some goals that make you learn to become the person it takes to achieve them. Don't just set the easy stuff. Don't just go after the low-hanging fruit, the easy route. Stretch yourself a little. See what you can do. Become the person who can achieve the things that you want. It does happen. It does work, and you can do it. Sometimes you have to break the rules. Sometimes you have to find your freedom, but you really do have to live your best life. And setting goals can help you get there. I hope this quick overview of a different way of looking at setting goals has helped you. If you have any questions or you would like some assistance in doing this, please don't hesitate to email me at stepintobrilliance@gmail.com or go to www.stepintobrilliance.com. And I look forward to hearing from you and hearing what you have achieved. Bye.